Welcome to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is the Doctor himself. Hello. And each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. And this week, joining us for the long anticipated second half of our Justice League Unlimited episode, the one, the only, the legend, Alex Jaffe.
The plastic tips at the end of shoelaces are called aglets. They're true.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, get that question quote in there, baby. Hell yeah.
Oh, it's good to be back. It's been way too long since the last time I was on this show. I'm very happy to be here once more here at the end of the year or beginning of the year, depending on when this airs. When does this air?
This is the last non-Docmas episode of the year.
Oh, Merry Docmas, everybody.
Yeah.
I just want to say, because it's been a while, I apologize if I repeat anything I said on the first episode, because I do not remember what I said. I'm sure it was very intelligent and funny. And I'm going to say that if I do, then it's your fault for asking redundant questions. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the audience.
I was gonna say there's probably questions that are adjacent to things that we did the last time, because we did get so many questions because people obviously love Justice League Unlimited. We obviously love Justice League Unlimited. We got so many questions that I had to split them up, and then we just hadn't circled back to it. You've actually been on to talk other things before this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're finally getting around to it, because this cartoon has been on in my house again lately. Mm-hmm. My daughter's been watching it. I love watching it. So I'm excited to get into it. You did a bit of a rewatch before this.
I sure did. To prepare for our first episode, I watched one episode of Justice League Unlimited. This time I watched half the show. I watched all of season 1. I watched half of season 2. Still pretty good. Still a pretty good show.
I think
holds up.
I have a slightly, it's not a hot take, because I don't think I'm coming in that hot with it, but I've got a take on Justice League Unlimited. I think it's very easy to see that first season of Justice League Unlimited and just go, excellent, start to finish. What an arc, the question authority thing, the way that it all comes together. It's all hinging on Lex running for president, and, will Superman do what the Superman of the Justice Lords did? That season is very, has a really careful arc.
A lot of that is season 2, but go on.
Yes, sorry. But I guess it's season 3 then, maybe.
Yeah, 3 is when it pivots hard into the Legion of Doom stuff.
That's what I love. I kind of love, Dr. Polaris is in there a bunch. We get Tala, we get all these other characters.
Well,
the thing
about that, there's a reason for that. It's that the original Justice League cartoon had 2 seasons. They assumed Justice League Unlimited would have the same. So they wrapped everything up by the end of season 2. That's why you get epilogue. And then unexpectedly, and this also interestingly happened with the 2003 Teen Titans cartoon. Unexpectedly, when they thought the show was over, they got another season. And they were like, we already shot our wad. What do we do now? What if we do a big season-long Super Friends tribute with the challenge of the Super Friends specifically, and set up Grodd as the leader and do all that? And yeah, it ended up being really cool. The same way that Teen Titans was like, well, we already did the whole Raven thing. Maybe a Brotherhood of Evil season.
Yeah, totally. Well, like I said, we've got a ton of questions. We should probably just jump right into them.
I'm ready.
So we're starting over on Facebook. Go to the face and the book. Go to the Facebook. Yeah. This question comes from Alex Bent. Alex asks, okay, so if DC were to revive this show on HBO Max or whatever, which characters that weren't yet created at the time this show came out would you want to see?
It's a very good question, Alex Bent.
I mean, I'll put one out there right now, is Jaime Reyes.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a reason Jaime is the first character featured in Batman: The Brave and the Bold, because
Yeah,
between
yeah,
those two shows, which really are Brave and the Bold, is really the best sequel to Justice League Unlimited, the way that it shows off the breadth of the universe, while
yes,
also accounting for the fact that you can't make anything without Batman in it anymore.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Jaime would be terrific in that role. I would love to see. I mean, I guess Bruce, Tim, and Paul Dini would agree with me when I would suggest Jessica Cruz when she was like the main
Yeah.
character of the Justice League versus Fatal Five revival. That would have been my top.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I would have loved to see in general a Justice League Unlimited season with the Bat embargo lifted. Let's get some Cassandra Cain in there. Let's see more
Right.
of the like I know Dwayne McDuffie had a bunch of plans for Hugo Strange that I really would have wanted to see.
Oh, that
Actually,
would have been neat.
yeah. Um,
A,
newer
a character that wasn't around then. Um, Interesting. Well, it's funny too because Justice League Unlimited does this great thing where there's your main guns. They're not really overly going to change. There's your characters that kind of get like little episode spotlights, and then there's your like cast of extras, like someone lifting a crate in the back or things like that. And I think it would be neat to see, maybe some little background nods to some new 52. I'm thinking of characters like Bunker, or like get Crush in. Lobo comes back with his
Crush would
kid
be
this
great.
time or
Get
something.
Brad
Like
Garrett back. Oh, it would be wonderful.
things like that I think would be kind of fun too. I think I'd enjoy that.
I'm going to divert from the premise a little bit and say this is a character who already existed, but only got a big push recently. One of the biggest disappointments or missed opportunities, I should say, about Justice League and Justice League Unlimited is that we don't really get to see a lot of Wonder Woman. And
Right.
I think a Nubia episode would be
absolutely. Yeah.
I think that would really add a lot of depth to that particular corner of the Justice League world.
Yeah, totally. And if, to bring it back to the question, I'd love a Wonder Woman episode that maybe touches on the, get the 3 tribes of Amazon sort of thing. I've been having fun with that stuff. So yeah, like that. I think that's a good call.
Mm-hmm.
Last one I'm going to throw out there. Should have an episode with either with Jessica or with John or someone, but get Atrocitus and Dexter in there.
Oh yeah,
as adversaries.
Yeah. I say this about Dexter. I think this one of the smartest things that DC superhero girls did was make Dexter Jessica Cruz's cat. I think that's an absolutely delightful addition to the canon.
That show's so good too. God.
Oh yeah.
All right. Let's leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter. Twitter. We got a question from Truth, Justice, and Hope, who asks, outside of the 7 main league members, which characters did you most enjoy seeing in Justice League Unlimited? What characters that didn't get featured on the show would you like to have seen get the spotlight? So touching on that a little bit again, but which of the characters that weren't the main ones were kind of like your favorites to see? I think I could guess one of them.
I would dispute that, because I would say the question is the main character of Justice League Unlimited. He's the star of the show every time he shows up. He gets like 3 episodes, and like that's a lot more than you could say about Aztec or Vibe or Crimson Avenger or Bwana, who are technically there. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that Bwana Beast gets actual dialogue is kind of wild.
I love it. Yeah. And
again, they make him a total scumbag, but they give him dialogue. Yeah.
Brave and the Bold really doubles down on that. They like give him a
Yeah.
whole arc, and they make him like the
Well,
big sacrificial hero.
yeah, he has like the big hero sacrifice in Brave and the Bold, which is pretty wild, actually.
I love it.
God, which characters do I most enjoy seeing in JLU? I mean, we talked about this a bit the last time that when we were doing the first half of this, is that JLU for me was the window, like the first time I had even seen certain characters. And for a while, it felt like secret knowledge that people didn't have. I knew who Hawk and Dove were, or I knew who, the Question was, or things like that. And so, for me, characters I enjoyed seeing, I mean, I don't just want to say the Question because it's obvious, but the Question is a big one. Outside of the main seven, Green Arrow is a huge one. I know he's not really like obscure or anything, but Green Arrow episodes are great on JLU. I really like the Legion. The Supergirl and the Legion, like there's a great episode there. I grew up reading my dad's Legion of superhero comics. It would have been nice to, have seen them not mind controlled the whole time, to see more of them. But I did like seeing that episode and going like, I know who that is, I know who that is, I know who that is, and kind of pointing them out. That was fun for me.
I want to say one thing because you've had me thinking a little bit about Jeff Johns' oeuvre lately because of
Oh yeah.
I've been thinking about it a little. And JLU was how I first learned who the Question was. Again, it was kind of that secret knowledge thing where like, oh, there are all these weird characters I've never seen before. I'm thinking a lot about what Jeff Johns tried to do with the Question in the New 52. And here's my theory on what was going on there. Here's my hot take. Jeff Johns' weird mystical take on the Question is what you would assume the Question's deal was if you didn't know anything about the Question. If you saw this guy on TV, it's like, who's this dude that has no face that everybody in the universe is kind of unnerved by and sees like secret connections behind everything? If you delete everything you know about Steve Ditko and Denny O'Neil and just have that character design and that feeling, I can see where Jeff Johns was coming from with like reinventing him from the ground up. Now, I don't approve of it, but I can see what he was going for.
I'm gonna throw out an equally speculative supporting corroborating piece there. It's the Question thing I always bring up when we talk about it, which is the Veitch miniseries. And considering like when that came out, and
that's 2005, right in the
that's right in the like the rise of Johns, you know what I mean? Like Infinite Crisis, all this kind of stuff. If you combine the kind of like the shaman, like you're bordering on mystic kind of thing with the Question there with what you're saying, you kind of get New 52 Question.
It kind of, I guess you could say that.
Not totally, because the Veitch one's not actually magic, but you know what I mean?
Like that idea. Like the Veitch one is more like, it's more like a Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas of a superhero comic.
Yeah, I guess for me, what I mean though is that Question has more of it's a little less tethered than the O'Neil stuff, right?
It's a reinvention for sure. Just the John stuff is a reinvention. But what I'm saying is like when you watch JLU and just got these kind of glimpses into characters without like really knowing what their backstory was, the wheels in your head just kind of started spinning like, who is this guy? And like that kind of thing of giving you just enough information to pique your interest without giving you the whole thing. That's what really got me into comics. That's like, I gotta find out this guy. You don't want to overload someone with information at the front. You want to tease them a little. And that's what the Question was. And that's what a lot of these background players were. A lot of people were freaking out about Stargirl and Stripe because they showed up a little bit in Justice League Unlimited. There's a huge fan base for Shining Knight and Vigilante.
I was just going to say Vigilante and Shining Knight would also be on my list of like, oh, good, they're in the episode. You know?
Yeah, I want to see more on them. I want to see him kiss. Make him kiss.
Yeah. You hear me,
man.
DC?
Yeah, I asked my friend Jadzia Axelrod, writer of Galaxy: The Prettiest Star, how would you reinvent Shining Knight and Vigilante, that dynamic for modern comics, considering how much Shining Knight has changed? If you were to use the Yeasteen figure that we have now, what would you do with Vigilante? And she gave me this brilliant answer that you would make that the way to do it is to turn Vigilante into this like non-binary figure like you see on Our Flag Means Death, and
right.
Just like this suave, super hot Vico Ortiz kind of character who just defies gender under that bandana mask. And it's like, yeah, that's the perfect way to do it. I'm
I want that series now.
Yeah. So yeah, my call to the audience now is get Vico Ortiz to play Vigilante in the next live action superhero thing.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Next question from Mosaic Comics, who asks, JLU has long been a cultural touchstone for the DC universe, introducing a wide audience to many characters for the first time, like we've been talking about. In the 16 years since JLU ended, has its relevance faded, or has the availability of reruns of box sets continued to expose it to new audiences? Do you think that, you know, Brave and the Bold and Teen Titans Go and Superhero Girls and stuff like that have like erased the memory of that? Like, are only people our age remembering JLU?
I'm going to say something really hard. Kinda.
Yeah.
Kinda. I mean, it's still there, but it's not as like powerful. It's not as ever present. It's not the touchstone it used to be. It's something you can go back to if you want to. It's something people refer back to. But you know, a little bit of shine on the apple has fallen off. There's some stuff with Hawk Girl that's not great in retrospect, the way it kind of treats Hawkman. And just fan I know I'm talking very niche when I talk about Hawkman fans, but doesn't do really right by them. Wonder Woman in particular, it's very different from Wonder Woman as we see her today. It's a lot more of a just proactive, battle-ready Wonder Woman that I think we saw the crest of in Brian Azzarello's New 52 run, and it's now gone kind of more in a Greg Rucka direction, which I welcome, but
it's
not Susan Wonder Woman.
It's true, which is interesting because, you know, that Wonder Woman was kind of the only Wonder Woman that I knew for a while. And so I think it kind of like with Superman as well, actually, it wasn't until being like more deeply invested in comics and going back and being like, oh man, you know what? Like that Superman is like, they're kind of right to be afraid of him. Like, you know, that Superman isn't the Superman from my comics. You know what I mean? Like he's a little touchier. He's a little quicker to temper.
Father figure. He's like when your dad comes into the room, like, "Hey, cut that out."
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
like, okay, Superman. Sorry, Superman.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, there's Brave and the Bold, yes, but that also kind of faded quickly. I would say the main cultural touchstone is Teen Titans Go. That is the future. I mean, certainly or the present.
I was about to say something, but I didn't want to tie it to you saying it's the future or the present, but like I guess maybe Young Justice as well.
Young Justice too, that had its crest in 2010, 2011, and you know, it had its return, but like I don't think the fandom for Young Justice was ever as high as it was as right after it was canceled. It missed its highest moment.
Yeah, sure. Right. Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, undeniably Batman the Animated Series still has this kind of like allure and cachet and things like that. It's funny that like the other things that are part of that world, part of that universe, maybe don't have it quite as much.
Well, part of that is budget, because you go back to Batman the Animated Series, it's beautiful. The animation is incredible. The soundtrack is incredible. Justice League Unlimited has these, like, you know, as my friend Topher Florence pointed out, there's this like really flat, honky, meaty soundtrack to Justice League Unlimited. When you like, in contrast, you'll find like a 70-piece orchestra scoring Road Rovers. It just
Yes, yeah,
it
yeah,
feels
yeah.
incongruous.
Yeah, that's very fair. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Instagram. Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them. Ah,
Yeah.
perfect. From the Multi Sanchez, who asks, which character or team do you think the show did a great job adapting for Justice League Unlimited? Which character or team do you think the show failed on? I'd be interested on that failed on one to hear you elaborate on your Hawkman point.
Okay. But first on character or team, a team makes me think of the Seven Soldiers of Victory episode, which is like just one of the coolest things they ever did with that. General Eiling and all that. Great episode.
A really, really great episode, because it also, I mean, maybe I'm just dense, but I kind of felt like they sort of like, they snuck it on you. Like, you see, like, oh, those heroes are over there, they're doing this. Could you guys do the parade or whatever? We've seen Green Arrow and Stargirl interact before, I think in the Scarteris episode or whatever. Like, or actually, no, that's probably later. But, like we've seen, these characters, and then you go, oh, wait a minute, that's Vigilante, Shining Knight, blah, blah, blah. And then when they call in reinforcements and you get the last two, Speedy and Crimson Avenger, you go, oh, son of a bitch, 7 soldiers.
The way they sneak it on you is brilliant. One of the coolest things that you ever did. There's no easy way to say this about Hawkman, and there's no delicate or gentle way to say it other than that they cucked him. They cucked Hawkman. That's what they did.
Yeah.
I really hate to say it. Those words turned to ash and poison in my mouth, but woof, he shows up twice. First as this Hro Talak guy, which is so terrible that even they knew they had to change the guy's name like kind of Hawk Girl's
he can't be Katar Hall. Yeah.
And when they finally do bring in Carter, it's this like just like total lame dead on delivery guy who only exists to prop up the Hawk Girl John Stewart relationship they've been doing this whole time.
Yes, I mean, I agree. Here's a thing I'll say I enjoyed about a part of the approach to that is they got a little bit to have their cake and eat it too, by ultimately exploring the two main origins of the Hawks, right? We had the Thanagarian one this whole time, and then when Carter shows up, we get this reincarnating Egyptian, and they almost accidentally stumble onto the thing that we'd have to wait for the Venditti series, for, but they kind of almost accidentally stumble onto the answer to Hawkman that way. Yeah,
there are a lot of people who come close. Ostrander comes close. Johns comes close, and it's not really until 2019 that it really comes together. It's the unsolvable Hawkman problem, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he's just there to get in the way, basically, and then just to get John and Shaira back together. That sucks if you're Hawkman. I gotta say a thing that's slightly sacrilegious for this podcast. I like James Remar as Hawkman.
Okay,
I think the performance is pretty good. I didn't necessarily like in Legends of Tomorrow when they did that Vandal Savage was the kind of half set.
Oh, that's
character.
Nobody likes season 1 of Legends of Tomorrow.
But even outside of that, I don't like that as the setup. But I did kind of dig the Shadow Thief as half set kind of thing, as an adaptation. I don't need that in my comics. They can be separate characters, but in that show, in an adaptation, I actually thought that was kind of neat, kind of interesting.
I mean, one of the things that makes Justice League Unlimited the DCAU, apart from the art style, is the voice direction of Andrea Romano. That's what makes it feel the way it does. That's why every
Yeah.
character sounds so authentic, because they have that direction. And yeah, even characters like Hawkman are it doesn't feel like you're watching a cartoon. It feels like you're watching people who exist together in the same room as each other, who are dealing with these situations. It feels like a very basic thing to ask for, but is very hard to find in superhero media. And just like Batman the Animated Series, just like Superman in the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited gets there because of Andrea.
Yeah. I will say, for a team I like that's well adapted, or I think it's an interesting adaptation, is Task Force X.
Task Force X is great. I mean,
there's a great episode of that. It's not necessarily the full team you expect, but you do get Deadshot and Boomerang on that team.
One of my favorite
in there. Clock King is on there, which is interesting. The idea of them infiltrating the Watchtower, and I think you and I talked about this. I think it's one of the episodes of JLU that does John John's some justice.
yes,
like the scale of the threat he poses to villains, that like, because he's always stuck up on the Watchtower, right? But when they come into that room and he's kind of there and he's like, "You made a big mistake," you're like, "Oh shit!" Like,
all right.
I think they do kind of right by Martian Manhunter.
Check out the credits on this episode. The credits on Task Force X: story by Dwayne McDuffie, teleplay by Darwin Cook. Where else are you going to find that? That's like the only time that's happened. It is a precious gem, and we need to treasure it.
Totally.
God. Speaking of teams, we got to talk about the Ultimen. The Ultimen rule. Oh man, they brought back the ancillary Super Friends. It's like this. It's great.
I like every time they find a way to like make them a thing. Like even in Young Justice, where they're the kids getting like abducted by the Reach, or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was like, every time it's like, oh man, you guys know exactly what you're doing.
I mean, again, it's one of those sneaky son of a bitch moments where when they introduce the Ultimate, the Justice League members who show up are Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. Suddenly happens to be there. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it is really good. Oh, shit.
Yeah, the whole reason
this show's good.
Yeah, it's great. The whole reason Long Shadow shows up in Justice League in Young Justice under that name is because he was Long Shadow in Justice League Unlimited. They didn't want to call him Apache Chief very reasonably.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're right.
Yeah, I think that was the right call. Yeah, I love those guys. A lot of fun. The Cadmus arc.
Oh man. Okay. Next question comes from Delgado Andrew, who asks, why isn't this setup the status quo on Prime Earth? The ability for any JL writer to use whichever characters would work best for an arc seems so handy, but it seems like they usually try and keep the team exclusive, particularly in the early New 52 and onward. Yeah, like what I mean, the only book I could think of kind of post New 52 that even attempted a like JLU type thing JLU is Justice League United.
Oh yeah,
and it was in that like last kind of arc when Adam Strange was like trapped in the Zeta Beam, and they were like assembling teams for specific missions.
Yes, that was cool. But like, again, the thing people go to for Justice League comics is very different than what people go to for Justice League, the show. When you think about a Justice League comic, you think of, oh, everybody has to come together to fight this one threat. Like, think about the first Justice League story. It's everybody coming together to fight Starro. Like, it is all hands on deck, everybody versus this one guy, whether they're from space or from hell or from another dimension or whatever. It's not like a showcase of the DC universe. What you're thinking of is the Brave and the Bold. What you're thinking of is DC Comics Presents, which is stuff that I would love to see more of. I mean, I know there's a Brave and the Bold relaunch coming soon from Tom King. Is that right?
Yes, that is.
I really, really loved Mark Waid's 2008 Brave and the Bold, where it was like, oh, it doesn't necessarily have to be Batman. Let's team up these two characters you would never think would team up before. That's something I'd like to see again. But yeah, when you put the name Justice League on there, it connotes everybody's here. All the main guys are here.
I mean, I'm gonna invoke another kind of troubled large roster team, which is the Legion. A thing that my dad grew up on Legion comics. He loves the Legion. That's like his favorite superhero team. And a thing that he always enjoyed. My dad's favorite Legionnaire is Ultra Boy.
Oh, good one.
Because he always liked the idea that he had all of the powers of Superman, but he could only use them one at a time.
Yeah, I love that too. Good taste.
But the thing that he enjoyed is that, like, you'd read one issue and you'd be following a team of 4 or 5 of them. They'd be dealing with something. Yeah. And then you'd kind of start a story of a different group of them somewhere else, and you'd finish that in the next issue or, next couple of issues or whatever. And you'd sort of always be handing off this kind of rotating group of, like, little kind of like task forces that the Legion would set up to deal with different things based on what they needed, right? Because that was also the whole point of the Legion.
Yeah, I was literally just reading the Great Darkness saga, and you see that all over. It's not like here's this mass of characters thrown at you at once. Like, here's these characters over here and these over there, and they meet up ultimately for the climax, but they're treated as these like satellite teams that all eventually congeal. And
I think there's a version of that could potentially still work, and if you figured out how to make it work, it'd be easy to transpose the model to a bigger roster Justice League. But I think the thing that really gets in the way there is that model of, like, we have 5 or 6 issues, that's an arc, it goes to trade, it goes out. Yeah, and I think that becomes a big issue for that. I think what you would need is almost to treat it like we should just have Justice League and then backups, and it's a different group doing something. And whether that's a little 3-issue short thing or something that can get collected itself, I think you almost just have to make Justice League an anthology book if you wanted to try and do that.
It might work as like one of those like weekly digital series, like the Justice League Beyond used to be. I feel like that would really benefit it. With that, it's just a totally different format built for a different time scale.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, all of those things are things I want, but most of the things I want aren't necessarily part of the economic model of comics. They're just things I want.
Yeah. If wishes were fishes, we'd all be Aquaman.
Oh, God, I wish. All right. The next question comes from the real Josh Gill, who asks, why does out there? Yeah, who asks, why does Stripe look so much like the Iron Giant?
Because Iron Giant rules.
He's cool. Is there any like apocryphal story of that being like a favorite movie of John's or something, and he's like, I'm gonna make an Iron Giant?
I mean, not that I know of. I don't think I think it's less that he looks like Iron Giant and more that he looks like Gigantor. That it's like they both claim that common thread of ancestry to like the earliest giant robot heroes. They're just like when you go back to classic big mech anime and manga, it's that kind of thing. I mean, Iron Giant is just another expression of that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
All
right. Next question from Edward Wynn, who writes, how strong is the JLU Justice League? Like, could they beat other iterations like JL Beyond, the Rebirth Justice League, they put Justice League Doom. Oh, like the roster from Justice League Doom. I mean, if you're putting the full roster of the Justice League United, that's a lot of heroes. I think. I mean, they kind of do when Darkseid invades at the end of season 3, they split them all over the world into these teams, which is cool because you get to see different characters doing stuff. But I think maybe one of the only episodes that has the bulk of the Justice League fighting one catastrophe is when they're fighting Mordru, and you only get little glimpses of it because it's mostly a Booster Gold episode because he's having an adventure over here.
I'm going to deliver a hot take here. The Justice League of Justice League Unlimited, actually one of the weaker Justice League rosters. And here's why.
Sure.
Every time magic stuff goes down, Justice League's magic guys are pretty much helpless. And the reason for that is because if you get the magic guys there, then Hawkgirl has nothing to do. Hawkgirl's main asset is that she has a mace that can dispel magic. And if you have other magic guys who are too powerful, like every time Dr. Fate shows up, he gets taken out pretty easily. Etrigan gets taken out pretty easily. The magic end of Justice League Unlimited is pretty short. So if we're doing like who would win in a fight stuff, I feel like even the main regular Justice League roster, like if you stick so much as a Zatanna on there, they're pretty good.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say my favorite Dr. Fate getting taken out in the show is when Lex is in possession of Flash's body and he just like rings the helmet.
Bang. Oh, it's so good. I love it. It would
really
never
funny.
Work in the comics, but I love it. It's
so slapsticky. Yeah. All right.
Actually, I wanted to say something about the comedy episode.
Oh, sure. Go on.
Yeah. What I want to say about those comedy episodes is that Justice League Unlimited has a much lighter tone than Justice League. It has a lot more of those comedy episodes interspersed throughout. And the reason for that, according to Bruce Timm, is that he was inspired by Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was watching Buffy and was like, you could switch up these like super dramatic episodes with these lighter, funny, self-contained episodic ones. And that's when they came up with like this little piggy and the one where they turn into kids. And like, let's just sprinkle in some stuff to lighten the tone. And that's where a lot of the feeling of Justice League Unlimited comes from.
Interesting.
So Joss Whedon has been influencing DC Comics from way back.
Oh God, that was the button on this?
Yeah, that was it.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
DC has been Whedonized since 2003 is what I've been saying.
Oh no. All right, we're leaving Instagram. We're heading on over to Reddit where everyone's nice. No one's ever mean.
Nobody's ever mean.
And we've got a question from Diaper Gal Kate who asks, does Wonder Woman know about Zatanna and Bruce and their little history and chemistry?
It's a good question. I don't think... Here's the thing, even if she knew, I don't think she would care. I think that's like Wonder Woman is a bold enough character in Justice League Unlimited that it doesn't matter to her if Batman has interest in other women. She's Wonder Woman. How do you compete with Wonder Woman? She has a very high opinion of herself.
Well, and she also, she doesn't care that like Batman is like an embarrassed teenager anytime she shows any affection to him, or like she doesn't care about that. The only episode where it would come up is this little piggy. She's a pig the whole time. And in that episode, Zatanna is surprised to learn that Bruce and Wonder Woman have a thing. I assume that's just an indicator, very obviously, that Bruce is kind of a closed book,
I will say we know for a fact that Zatanna and Wonder Woman spoke to each other at least once, because otherwise, how would Wonder Woman know that Batman sang "Am I Blue" to get her transformed? Because at the very end, we see Wonder Woman walking away and humming that to tease him. Clearly, Zatanna must have told her what happened. So there is some kind of relationship between them behind the scenes.
Yeah. Oh, God, great episode. Makes me miss Kevin Conroy.
I have a piece going up about Kevin Conroy on DC.com that should be live by the time you hear this.
Awesome. Yeah. Go check that out because, God, what a legend. Okay. Next question comes from Teach Me I Learned, who asks, where does Green Lantern, the animated series, the original Batman, Batman New Adventures, Superman animated series, and Justice League fit into the Justice League Unlimited timeline? I don't know where to start.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The question is, where do a bunch of series fit into the timeline? And the series are the original Batman, Batman New Adventures, Superman animated series, and then Justice League, as well as Green Lantern, the animated series, which is interesting because that isn't part of the timeline.
Well, I could understand why you would think that because it's called the animated series. It's meant to invoke that because Bruce Timm is involved because it's like, hey, it's got the Timm shine on it. But no, it's not part of the story. It's just another Timm production. It's like you don't you shouldn't assume all the Quentin Tarantino movies take place in the same continuity just because
Sure.
they're references. But yeah, it's Batman the Animated Series. Then New Batman Adventures and Superman the Animated Series happen around the same time as each other.
Right.
They're kind of like Deep Space Nine and Voyager in that way.
Yes. Yeah.
Then you have Static Shock happening. You left off Static Shock.
Mhm.
That's important to put in. Static Shock, there is some Justice League stuff in there. So no, that doesn't happen yet. Okay, so it's Batman the Animated Series, then New Batman Adventures and Superman happening at the same time. Then you have Justice League. Then in between Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, you could fit in Static Shock. You could fit in Batman Mystery of the Batwoman if you wanted to be really complete about it. You could stick in Gotham Girls and Lobo, the web series everybody forgot about. Then you put in Justice League Unlimited. Then Batman
and
Beyond.
then Batman Beyond after
and
that.
then, of course, everyone's favorite DCAU project, the Zeta Project.
The Zeta Project,
yeah. Everybody loves the Zeta. We should do a whole episode about the Zeta Project.
You know what? I mean, I would be starting from scratch. Although I think Watchtower Database just did a whole month about the Zeta Project, so I should probably just go and dip my toes in.
Just do that. Oh God, what a show! Oh man, there are all these really weird connections to the like bigger DC stuff that's going on that are completely non-essential, but interesting that they did it. I don't have time to get into the Zeta Project. It's about a robot that shows up in one episode of Batman Beyond. That's what it's about.
I'm curious about the like how that got turned into something. You know what I mean? Of all of the things from Batman Beyond, you didn't make a full Justice League Beyond, but you made Zeta Project. It seems like such like a weird thing to spin out. Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Firebird0319, who asks, if you could make an episode for JLU, what is it about? Who's in the episode? And you must use one of the OG leaguers.
I'll say this. In Justice League Unlimited, Wally West did not get enough screen time. They don't do enough with Wally.
Yes, true.
So I think I would want to do kind of a Flash family thing.
Okay.
Bring in Jay Garrick. Bring in whatever happened to Barry Allen. Bring in Bart Allen. Bring in the new guys. Have Jeremy Adams script it. He's a big Flash guy. Basically, what I would do is the Brave and the Bold episode of the Flash.
Oh yeah, that's such a good one,
man. God, what a good episode.
And you get God, why can't I think of his name right now? 90s Flash. He voices Zoom in that one, which is awesome.
Oh yeah, I know the one.
Yeah.
What's John Wesley?
I know. Thank you, John Wesley. Thank you.
Yeah.
If I could make an episode for JLU, what is it about and who's in the episode? And I must use one OG leaguer. Oh man, that's really tough. I think I would do. I feel like Batman and Martian Manhunter never really had a team up of them. There's, Batman teams up with most of the other OG leaguers, but I'm drawing a blank on a proper Batman Martian Manhunter team up. Yeah, but maybe it's mostly a Martian Manhunter episode where we'd actually get to see a bit of like him as Detective John Jones, So I guess this would be pre when he runs away and hides and goes and lives a normal life in China, where we pick up with him later. Yeah. But
I have a really bonkers Martian Manhunter idea.
Sure, do it.
There's something that the New 52 attempted that didn't quite work, but I thought was kind of an interesting idea. That
Mr. Biscuits?
Not Mr. Biscuits. That Martian Manhunter has this whole second life going on, where he's also the leader of Stormwatch and So it would be really interesting to find out that while he's working with the Justice League, he has this whole other team going on that's just all these super proactive heroes you've never heard of. But Midnighter's there, and Jack Hawksmoor is there, and the Engineer is there. Yeah, I do that. That's what I do. A Wildstorm episode. Why not?
If I wasn't doing like sort of grounded detective, or I could have it both ways. Maybe what I want is a detective-y Martian Manhunter story, but maybe he gets called to Saturn. We get Gem, son of Saturn, in there, and he has to solve a crime on Saturn, sort of thing. I think that would be
all right. Well, now
fun.
we're getting a little bit of Young Justice season 4, where it's like trying to solve a mystery on Mars. But
that's true. But I didn't like how that one played out.
There were some pacing issues. That didn't have to be 4 episodes.
But yes, I suppose that is basically 100% what I'm proposing. All right, we are leaving Reddit and we're heading on over to the Doc Scored.
I'm Doc Scored. Check in and see. We got a fever of 103.
Nailed it. Perfect. Love it. All right. From the Doc Scored, Mullet Overlord asks, is the JLU show still the best adaptation of Green Arrow?
That's a very
maybe not the I would say it is one of the best. It is not the only. I mean, Green Arrow's in a lot of episodes, so you kind of can build a sense of his character over a few episodes. But I think that tone is actually matched really, really well in that DC Showcase animated short.
Oh yeah.
I think that one does a really good job of Green Arrow. Green Arrow in Batman Brave and the Bold's a bit different. I don't like him as much. I do like the take on Green Arrow in JLU. And I've said it before on this show. My absolute favorite moment is when he sings his own theme song as he kicks a guy in the chest. It's very, very funny to me.
It definitely feels the most Denny O'Neil of all the Oliver Queen adaptations. I will say Smallville's Green Arrow is pretty good. I think Justin Hartley doesn't get any credit. But yeah, I think JLU is ultimately overall the most kind of surly old man radical hippie. Love to see.
It hits all the right boxes, I mean, and truly, Arrow on its own, totally on its own, succeeds largely at what it is doing. But when you look at Arrow, then you look at JL, you go like, what character did what character they think they're writing, but you look at it and you go like, you're not writing Green Arrow. Yeah.
No, they're writing Batman Begins.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Okay. Question from Andres Smith, who asks, if you had the power to immediately greenlight a live action adaptation of any JLU episode or story arc, which would you choose? Which is interesting because a lot of them are themselves adaptations of comic stories.
Yeah. I mean, just completely self-indulgently, I'd go with Fearful Symmetry. Right. The Galatea episode with the question. Double cast Hoover's playing Supergirl in both roles. It'd be great.
That's interesting. I was wondering if maybe you were going to go for a sort of like a redo, a fix, quote unquote, of the Double Date, the Cry for Blood kind of thing.
Oh God, I would love a live action adaptation of Cry for Blood, but I wouldn't want it to be an adaptation of Double Date. I'd want it to be an adaptation of Cry for Blood.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
It's a much different story. I talked about this on the last episode, but the similarities between them are an accident. It's something Gail Simone was unaware of when she wrote this episode. Just Dwayne McDuffie suggested that she use the question when she couldn't use Batgirl, and it just morphed into this thing. She kind of back-ended her way into accidentally recreating this Greg Rucka story, which I love.
It's so funny. I mean, in a way, it kind of shows that it's like a good story if you can kind of accidentally get close to it. That without trying, it's almost like there's some sort of natural pull.
This is what would naturally happen if you put the question and Huntress together.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's interesting. Do you know what? I mean, I'd say I would be interested in seeing it live action. I say that with the huge asterisk of you would need like a you would need such competent filmmaking to set up a story of this kind of magnitude. But I like the Thanagarian invasion occupation kind of thing. I guess that's not JLU, that's just Justice League, so I'm cheating a bit.
Yeah, that's Starcross.
But I do like that one.
I will say, I think the best thing that was ever adapted into live action from Justice League Unlimited is, although we already saw a little bit of this in Ostrander's Suicide Squad, it's really something that comes to the forefront in JLU, and it's that dynamic between Batman and Amanda Waller. And I think even the biggest critics of 2016 Suicide Squad, they really have to give it up for that Batman Waller scene. It feels like it belongs in a different movie, and that's the movie I would rather be watching. And it's like they're such great adversaries. They're such great counterparts to each other. I love what's going on between them in Batman: The Enemy Within, the Telltale games. Have you played those?
Yeah.
God, they're so good. Love those games. But yeah, this dynamic between Batman and Waller is something that really, really was developed by JLU. And I think that's something that that character dynamic in particular owes a lot to.
Yeah. I mean, God, it CCH Pounder, I read a thing or an interview or something, and I don't get upset when actors aren't that into the thing. No, I don't read a ton of comics, whatever. I read the script and do the thing. And CCH Pounder gave an interview and was like, I don't know half the words I'm saying. They're just telling me to say it. I say it. And I love how good her performance is for how like little she maybe invested or understood of what was happening. She's like, I don't know, it's a science word or something. I was just to say it. She's such a good actor. She's such a good actor. Yeah.
What other errands do you have us running for the DA?
Oh yeah. Oh God. Is that It's Always Sunny? Is that Glenn Howerton does the amazing CCH Pounder impression? Yeah.
Yeah, when he's doing that from The Shield. God. I listen to that like once a week. It's so fucking good.
It's really good. Yeah. All right. Last question comes from Yo Crow, who asks, I don't know if I asked this already, but just in case, what recent comic series like Dark Knights of Steel, Jurassic League, DC Mech, etc., do you think would be cool as a sort of 2 or 3 episode arc in Justice League Unlimited? And I guess the caveat here is you can't just say all of them.
I would go with Mark Waid's recent Batman Superman, World's Finest, the thing with the devil measure and like possessing all these heroes, and Batman and Superman to team up against them. Because, you know, it had been a while since we saw a good old Batman Superman team up, and to see them against like the rest of the league being controlled by this magic dude and fusing into that badass anime character, that would be awesome.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I think there's a version, maybe if we hadn't already dipped into the kind of like medieval Morgan Le Fay kind of thing, there's a version that would be interesting where they end up in the realm of Dark Knights of Steel or something like that, just for like visually. Like I think Jurassic League is maybe like one step too big for JLU.
Yeah, that would be a Brave and the Bold episode, not a JLU.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. But Dark Knights of Steel, I think you could probably pull off. Or it wouldn't be that they go to the world of that, but you just get an episode where they all end up dressed like knights. Or you like just do something like that. But I guess that.
Great character designs in that series.
All right. Well, that's the end of the questions. But we're not done.
Yes. No, I think we're done. My connection is getting I can't hear you anymore. Sorry.
We are
Mark, are you there?
not
No, I can't hear
done.
you. All right. Okay, bye. I have a thing I have to go to.
Coward, I say.
I got a thing. I'm sorry. It's the bat signal.
It is time for everyone's favorite game, including yours. It's your favorite game. Can you name the DC character based on how someone who does not read comic books can describe the character to us? I pick a character from DC Comics, and I send an image to my wife, and she gives me 4 clues based solely on the image. She doesn't read comics. She barely tolerates my love for them. And she gives me clues, and you have to guess because I know what the character is because I'm running the game.
All right, you know who the character is. That okay. All right, let's figure this out. Okay. All right.
Oh, that wasn't a clue, but yeah, you could use that, I suppose.
I'm gonna use it. So I know it's nobody that you don't know. That's what I I know good. It's probably not anyone from the Atari Force. So I can eliminate that. You haven't read the Atari Force, have you?
Oh, of course not.
Okay, good. So that's already good information before the first clue. Right.
Are you ready?
No, but let's do it anyway.
Okay. Clue number 1. Smashed eggshell skull.
Is it Egg Foo?
No.
Is it Chang Tzu, the attempted reboot of Egg Foo that they did in 52?
A valiant attempt, but no.
I would have been so mad if it was and you didn't count that as Egg Foo. God damn it. I'm inventing reasons to be mad at you right now, Doc. Smash egg skull. Is it like Vostok X from Aquaman and the Others?
No.
Is it Atomic Skull?
No.
All right, Egg Skull. Who's got a big old dome for a head? Is it Brain?
No.
All right, it could be one.
Would you like another clue?
Just one more. Is it Validus?
No.
The Fatal 5. Okay, fine.
It is not Validus.
All right.
Okay. Next clue. That looks like one mean fart.
Okay. Is it anybody from the Gas Gang? The Metal Men enemies?
Okay. No, but that's a good guess because Metal Men is sort of a thing my wife and I share.
Yeah.
Good guess, but no.
All right. No, not okay. Cracked egg skull, kind of a gas cloud thing going on. That's where the fart comes from. Probably green or yellow. Let me think. Ah, man. God, I hate this. This sucks. This is the worst game. Is it Mano? Another one of the Fatal 5.
It's not Mano.
All right. Is it Tharok?
It's not Tharok. It's not
Is it
anyone in the Fatal 5.
No, I have one more guess. Is it the Persuader? Tell me. If it's the Persuader, you have to tell me.
I'm sorry. It's not. I wish I could help you.
Oh, man. He's got a skull for a head. He's got a cracked egg skull. He's got a fart going on. Man, I hate this. Is it is it Wildstar?
No.
What is it? Wildfire?
No.
Is it a Legionnaire?
No.
Okay, that takes off about 1,000 characters. All right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Man. Whoo.
Would you like another clue?
Yeah, give it to me.
Okay. Third clue.
Okay.
Cool armbands, bro.
That doesn't help me. Is it a Mazo?
It's not. No.
Of course it wouldn't be a Mazo. Cool armbands. Is it some kind of genie? I'm thinking it might be some kind of genie. You can't tell me.
It not technically.
Okay, fine.
I'll say visually it looks like,
Yeah. It's got to be someone like that. It's not it's not Thunderbolt.
No.
It's wait, no, that's not an egg skull. I was thinking Jin from the Teen Titans. No.
No.
Oh man. Oh man. Okay. Armbands. It's not like ISIS or anybody like that.
No.
No. Get, okay. Is it Abnegazar?
No.
Is it Wrath? Is it
No.
whoever the third of the Demons 3 is that I'm forgetting?
No.
Okay.
Gast. No.
Gast, Wrath, Gast, and Abnegazar. Thank you. Those guys. All right, give me one more.
Last clue.
Yeah.
Looks like a fun dip packet.
Looks like a fun dip packet. Looks like a fun. That doesn't help me. What does a fun dip packet look like? I'm Googling fun dip packet right now.
Do you have fun dip in the States?
Not really.
Oh, fun dip is like you basically get like it's essentially like a Kool-Aid powder thing in two sides, and they have different flavors, and you get like a candy stick and you lick it and you dip it in the powder, you suck the powder off. It's horrible for you, but it's
wow.
It's a snack.
That sounds very bad.
Just a sugar. It's literally just sugar as a snack.
That sounds very, very bad. We probably do have it in the States, and I've just ignored it because it would kill me. Is it a character? Is it a pre-crisis character?
Oh, you know what? I'm just going to quick check that so I can give you an actual answer. I want to say yes, but I'm just going to double check. Yes.
It is a pre-crisis character. Is it a Superman character? It is a
Superman. No, it is not.
All right. Oh, is it that dude who gave the Flash his powers in that one Flash comic that everybody ignored? That weird nerd guy?
No.
You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah, I do. The like wizard kid or whatever.
Yeah, that wizard kid. You know. All right, that was my last guess.
You're going to be mad, because technically these clues were pretty good, but also this was a tough one.
Okay, who is?
I'm going to hold this up for you. See if we can. Oh, hang on.
There's too bad.
My screen is far too bright here. Just a sec. Can we?
No, can't see.
Is that working?
No,
okay.
Can't
here's
see.
what I'm going to do. Good way to do this. I guess I'll pull it up on my computer. Okay.
You could drop a link in the chat.
That's what I'm going. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to pull them up. I was using my phone.
I should have asked, does this character have a Funko Pop? That should always be a question.
Great question. Yeah. Definitely not.
Cracked egg. Fart cloud. Cool armbands, bro. Looks like a fun dip packet.
Okay.
Is it MODOK? No, it's not MODOK. Every time I guess MODOK for some reason.
All right. I'm going to just put
Sleaze, everybody's favorite new god, Sleaze.
Oh God, no. Here you go. I'm putting it in the chat.
Okay, here we go. No, not there. Desktop. All right, let's open this baby up. This is a weird thing. Oh man, hold on. I know that you said you didn't want to edit stuff. Oh, this guy. Yeah. From JSA BC, the original Metamorpho.
Yes, it's Acton, the original Metamorpho.
You know what? That's fair. That's absolutely fair. All of those clues were 100% fair, and that is my failing. I will take this L.
I'm sorry. This game is I feel better about my record in this game when I realize how hard it is for you.
Yeah.
So that is like, I don't want to say I like revel in your misery, but I will say that I do appreciate when you don't get it because I feel a bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's not quite Schadenfreude. I just feel better. Yeah.
No, I get it. I understand. It's like, oh, I'm not a failure. This is just a really hard game.
Yeah.
I would be interested to know like how many of your listeners playing along like get these if they were being really honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, it's not overly often that in the docs court someone says, I got that one. And it happens every once in a while, and I honor system, take people at their word, but it's not often that people come in and say that they got it. So I think it's reasonably difficult across the board.
Yeah. All right. What are we doing next time? What's the topic of our next episode the next time I'm back on this show?
The next time you come back on the show.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing right now on the air.
Here's the thing. We've talked 52.
Yes.
We've talked the question. We've had you on to settle who would win in a fight twice.
And I'll do that again.
We've done 2 episodes on JLU. And then I'm just refreshing my memory. What was the one we had? We did a couple in the intro. DC Nation. That's right. We did DC Nation in the interim.
Yeah.
What I'd like you to pitch me like your weirdest corner of DC that you never get to talk about, because that would be fun.
Oh man. Oh, that's great. Weirdest corner of DC that I never get to talk about. I'm gonna have to think about that, because my column, my like DC affords me a lot of leeway to talk about a lot of weird stuff. I just put out a whole article about that time Hawkman was Native American in the 90s for 6 months.
I read that one. That was great. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. I did a lot of research into that. Yeah. Again, that Kevin Conroy piece just went live. Put the ball.
Yeah, it doesn't have to necessarily be one you haven't been allowed to talk about, but maybe one where you had fun writing the article and you'd like to have a real conversation with someone about it. You let me know, but I think my challenge to you is to pick a really like a weird corner that people can ask some fun questions about.
I'm sure you've done like a Charlton focused episode. Have you done a Charlton episode?
We've done one, but there's so much to talk about. We could absolutely do another Charlton episode.
Okay, I'm gonna make a request. Can we do a Charlton episode, and can I bring a friend for it?
Ooh, yeah, sure. Why not? Yeah.
I want to bring on Charlton Posting from Twitter. Both of
Charlton
us.
Posting is a good follow, by the way.
Yeah, great follow. We've been friends for a very long time. I've known him since back when he was question posting specifically, and then he discovered Blue Beetle and Peacemaker. He's on a shadow binge right now. The Spider, all these pulp heroes. Yeah, I would like to be on a show with him. Let's do that.
We could definitely do that in the new year. Alex Jaffe and Charlton Posting. We'll talk about Charlton comics.
Yeah, I have not pitched this to him, but I'm sure he'll be down for it.
Well, whether he is or not, he's doing it. So
exactly.
Yeah,
I've committed for him. Let's do that.
That's right. In the interim, next week kicks off Docmas. So the 12 episodes of Docmas, they'll start on the 13th. They run all the way through the 24th. We haven't recorded it yet, but the Doxners, second annual Doxners special, that'll be coming out later this month. And I'm still planning on recording some special Lord of the Rings episodes, same format, different universe, doing some of that to put out but just before the new year. So there's quite a few things coming. If you got questions about Lord of the Rings, if you got questions about Charlton Comics, I can start the stockpile now. Yeah, you know where to find us: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Hive at Dr. DC, TikTok, Reddit, all those places. Patreon.com/Dr. DC, obviously. $1, $5, $7 levels. Join the Doc Squad, get bonus episodes, all sorts of fun stuff. And check out Ghost Facers, a Supernatural rewatch. Richard and I going through every single episode of CW Supernatural. But if that's all not enough for you, Alex, where can they find you? What should they be listening to with you?
Okay, I'm on DC.com, where I publish regular articles about obscure and not so obscure corners of the DC Comics universe. I have a column not too unlike your own, where I take questions from readers on any topic and go into in-depth analyses and highly researched answers, as opposed to these kind of off-the-cuff things we do here. I think the next one, which is going to come out either this week or next week, I went into how many different bodies has the Ultra Humanite had? The answer may surprise you. Yeah.
Interesting.
Every single
how
one.
Many different. I'm just gonna throw a number out because
Okay.
I don't know that I can name more than like 3 or 4. But I'm gonna say Ultra Humanite has had.
Okay.
I actually think it's probably fewer than you would think for a character that old. I'm gonna say 9.
That's low.
Okay, interesting. Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's more than 9. That's what I'll say. The next one,
Interesting.
I also talked about the first celebrity cameo in a Superman story. I talked about the forgotten Superman origin in 1934, the one after he's a supervillain, but before he's in Action Comics. There was a second draft of Superman people don't talk about. And right now I'm very, very deep in a very long research project about when the Joker started putting ha 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 on stuff. So maybe that'll come out next month. I still have like 12 years of comics to go through. I have a pretty good theory that Doc and I spoke about off the air. And I think you might actually be right, but I'm very close to confirming it.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you'll see that if you I'm also on the community, community.dcuniverseinfinite.com. Every week I have a trivia Tuesday where I host a trivia competition that's very spirited, and the winner gets like a shiny profile badge. And I think this week we're doing a 2022 wrap up. Later this week we're doing Doom Patrol, but it'll be too late by the time you listen to this to participate in it. You can also find me on Insert Credit. It's a video game podcast that's been going on since 2012, where I ask the smartest and most interesting people in video games the weirdest questions I could think of. I'm the one who writes almost all the questions. I let the listeners submit one a week. Just let them have that.
That's smart. It's hard to close that floodgate.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. What else? Where else can you find me? You can find me all over the place. Subscribe to Action Button on YouTube if you want to watch like 6 or 7 hour long reviews of video games nobody's ever heard of. The Boku no Hero. Yeah, I do something.
I love that. That's awesome. Alex, thank you so much for coming back on.
Thank you. It's always a delight. We'll do this again very, very soon.
Absolutely. And yes, please bring a friend. Everybody, we will see you for Docmas. And that's the end of the regular non-Docmas episodes for this year. Crazy. And say goodbye, Alex.
That's how we say goodbye in America.
I've heard that. Do you know what? I've heard that.
Ciao, ciao. Adios.
Heroes. They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.